Hello there, YouTube crew. I'm the real Dill, and today we're finally going to be talking about Creed 3. Starting out strong, I think I'll just say it. I believe this is the best Creed movie. I love the way the wife is used in this one. She's been used very well throughout, although I felt like she could have been pushed further in the second movie. This, I think they did her perfectly well. Um, Great antagonist. Jonathan Majors is a beast. I really liked the history and the conflict between them, and just these are the two guys that they just need to duke it out to solve their problems. It's if you're a guy, you probably had that one friend that you just had to beat the heck out of. One of you had to lose, and then you're like, you know what? I kind of see where you are. And man, Michael B. Jordan, it's got to be one of the better, if not one of the best, directorial debuts that I've seen. There's a couple cool different takes that he brings to the fight scenes. There's actually this sort of kind of Sherlock Holmes type thing that he does in the first fight, where he sees a weakness and it's about him getting setting up to where he can attack it. I thought that was done really well. And then in the final fight, there's this all the lights dim down and it's just the two men in the ring, all the people in the crowd, just it's an empty stadium at that point. It's just focused on them two. Uh, I really like that, but it also brings I want to say it also brings in their view of each other as when they were kids, as because that's really what it all falls back to, is that particular moment in time where all this grudge is coming from. um but my one issue with the final fight is that this section covers the entire middle rounds of the fights. And I think you do miss out on a good dramatic element, good conflict element, and not seeing the two actors or two fighters as they tire down and they fight to endure the long rounds. That's something that, the first Rocky movie, Rocky 4, the last Creed movie, they did really well. The last two Creed movies did really well at showing the the fight to endure, the fight to show that yes, you belong there. And well, this one is not necessarily a you belong there, but it is one that goes to the 12th round, so it sort of is. And this Creed movie follows through on three of the weakest points that I found with the previous Creed movies. The first is that it actually comments on the infidelity of Apollo in a real way that the especially the first movie really doesn't do. It pays lip service to. I mean, the kind of adoption point is, yeah, it's kind of the subtext of that scene, but it's never really brought out for what it should be. And the most that that movie does for it is have two commentators talk about it for 30 seconds, like the definition of lip service. Whereas in this one, the final scene with the mom, she lays it out to bear of how hurt and angry she was about the infidelity. And but then the scene builds on it in a way that becomes really heartwarming, because the only thing that fixed that hurt was actually Adonis, like the child who's innocent in the infidelity, in the sin that happened. And just the the beauty and the beauty and the forgiveness that can come out of the sweetness of a child. I thought that was a perfect wrap up to their relationship throughout the movies. It was really good. And the second thing is we finally get to hear Adonis speak out about how his half siblings have mistreated him, especially as he was growing up. And like that's another thing that the first movie was in great need of. Like you have a Adonis, he doesn't want to go by the name Creed. He wants to earn it on his own and this and that. But it back in LA where everybody knows who he is, or everybody who he can go will soon learn who he is and he'll get blackballed. Which that's a little tangent. That needed to be shown that the mom was behind that, because it just had it as the trainer was doing that on his own, and that doesn't really make sense. But had he been doing that at the behest of the mother, that duh, that makes sense. Why like also why the movie didn't make that point was pretty stupid. But going back to the actual point at hand, you actually needed to see one of the siblings as a legitimate character in that first movie, and they needed to be dismissive. They needed to be downright mean to him, and so one that shows why he's struggling with finding his own identity in the world because yes, he's a Creed in a sense, but he's not. He's using his mother's name. You know, he's not allowed to fight where he should be allowed to fight, and train. And so now he goes out to Rocky. He's trying to make it as you know. If I can't fight as a Creed, maybe I can fight as a Rocky. You know, that sort of underdown, come up from nothing, and and then that gets blown out the water. You know, he's forced to come out as a Creed and then fight as a Creed if he wants to make it in the boxing world. And the biggest dramatic element there could have been to that was that sibling who'd been putting him down as a dismissive type character is now an outright antagonist towards him. You know, because oh, you're just using the name Creed to give yourself a career. You're a leech. You're this. You're nothing. And you know, how do you not use that as the drama? Because you know you have the character who didn't purposely do that. It was done against his will, against what he wanted, and but because this sibling character is always looked at him in a negative light, he doesn't even he wouldn't even consider or even look at the actual evidence in front of him that this didn't come out from him or Rocky. You know, so there's this huge dramatic element that defines what the character is going through and really justifies why he's fighting the way he is, why his whole mentality is missing. That whole factor is really missing. It really, to me, in my opinion, that's why the first Creed movie, I was always kind of meh on it. Like one, like it only gave lip service to what needed to be examined about Apollo's character for the Adonis character to be who he is, right? And then two, it just for the Adonis character to act and desire the things that he does, you really needed this sibling character to be this antagonistic force against him. And it really would have, like, it's really sweet when the mother sends the Creed, uh, I forget his Creed Johnson shorts to him, but that also would have been amplified had that been just come following. You know, she told him that if he goes out to fight, she doesn't want anything to do with him. So he's lost this anchor in his life, and then he's had his only other familial connection just barrage and despise him further than normal, and so he's completely isolated. And then, bam, he's given this. It's like you are my son, you are Apollo's son, but you're also Johnson. You're also your own man. Go out there and win. You know go out there and make your own legacy. That's that really would have just man sent that moment to the stars, you know. But like, that's finally brought up in this movie, and it's brought up to the mom, and it's tied into the antagonist. So it's really good storytelling, and I think that this is why I would say the third movie is the best in my opinion. Is it really takes all those elements and ties them in really well. I don't feel like there's much that was skipped over, except for this next thing.
No friends in the industry, I had to draw the line between my brothers and my enemies. A fact. Let us start if you don't want to keep it rap. Yeah, you hit us up.
The third thing I have is I really wanted to see Adonis and Victor Drago become the friends, or start to become the friends that Rocky and Apollo were. Now, the end or climax of Creed 2 does start to show Rocky and Adonis start to empathize with the Dragos, but it doesn't go near as far as it should. And it's great to see in this movie that Adonis and Victor have become friendly. They're in business together. He's trying to set him up for a championship shot. And then when when he's coming back and getting back into the ring, he has Victor come and spar for him, and like that it is really great to see that that's starting to become a thing. But really, because they didn't take it far enough in the second movie, they kind of like they played it at arm's length in this movie. I really want they should have been a little bit closer, but and what I would really love to see is in Creed 4. Creed 4 um start out with Creed versus Drago 2 and have Drago win, and then he's steps back and starts setting up his career as a champion. And I'd really like to see, because we've seen a little bit in this movie where Adonis is as molding fighters, uh, but to take it that step further, have that type of, a friendship with that particular history, I think that would be great. Bring back Stallone, bring back Lundgren. I think Creed 4 would be awesome if it went this direction. So yeah, Creed 3, another great addition. Rocky Five's the only redheaded stepchild of the franchise. Let's keep that going. I'm the real deal. If you haven't watched it, consider going to the theaters. It was a great time. I'm the real deal. Goodbye.